Hey, what's good, people? This is episode 38. This is Rob McLean, Jason DeBeas, and Sports Debate Tuesday starts right now. What is good, people? Jason DeBeas. This is episode 38. This is Sports Debate Tuesday, and that is my man, Rob. Keep it McLean. What's good, baby? How's your weekend?
Pretty good, pretty good.
Doing
Got
your
back to
thing.
work a little bit.
Whole weekend full of football. We're gonna talk. It's gonna be a chunk of our thing happening this weekend. Of course, we got Khabib versus Justin Gaethje coming up. Brian Ortega, very impressive victory over Korean Zombie, and my opinion, a one event card. I mean, the rest were very, very forgettable. I'm not trying to crap on the UFC, but there is. I've always had this disagreement of oversaturation. I was like, we can't get enough, but I can't make that argument this weekend for anyone who's debated with me healthily about that. But let's get to the NFL Pick Six because we were rolling so much on other subject matter. We completely forgot about that. Had to do a separate episode. So I figured we'd go Pick Six this week. And here are the results of last week. Thank you, Ryan Dougherty, for playing. Ryan Dougherty is 4-2. Rob, keep it McLean, you are 4-2. And Jason, yours truly, too smart for his own good, is 2-4. And I believe right now where we are collectively, I'll pull it up. Rob, you are 18-10. I am 14-14. And our guests are 18-10. You're 17-11. And I'm 14-14. And all of us have one tie. So 14-14-1. 18-10-1, and Rob is 17-11-1, and congratulations to my two guys who probably don't want to settle for a tie, but considering how bad we've been doing some weeks, we'll take the tie. This week's guest, you might know who this guy is. It's a surprise. I didn't tell you who it was, but here he is, just the same.
Hey,
This week's guest
my
is
man.
our man, Justin Stack. I love this dude. For any of you that don't know Justin Stack, I will only say this. Once you've met him and once you talk to him or once you worked with him professionally, he's a coach, an indoor and beach coach, you will never forget him. You will remember him for the rest of your life. He is very respected, particularly in the East Coast. He doesn't cross he doesn't cross that line to go to the West unless he absolutely has to. He spent a year at Coastal Carolina, basically revamped Baruch College, which was the worst team and the worst conference in the NCAA, and got them all to the Final Four. Rob's had a chance to work with him, I think, once or twice, right? Or for a season.
No, not for a season, just once or twice.
Okay, I got to work with him for three of the 4 seasons when we worked together, turning that team around. Mike Salek was one of his assistants. He's Daniel Levant. He's gotten a bunch of great players, contracts overseas, and a lot of those great players have turned into good coaches because of this gentleman. So Justin Stack, welcome. This is I got to get the picks. This is conversational this week, people. Justin Stack. All right, our first one, Rob. Our first game this week is the Panthers visiting the Saints. I thought like you said, Bridgewater had a pretty good game, fell short, and the Saints are playing at home. Who do you got?
I got to go with the Saints. Let's keep it quick.
Yeah, listen, you're going to leave all the rest of the time for me to talk, but I'm not going to spend that time talking, and I'm picking the Saints. And Justin Stack is also picking the Saints. So, Rob, our next game, we have the Lions visiting the Atlanta Falcons. Matthew Stafford didn't suffer from Lions luck this week. He got a double-digit lead, and this time they kept it. They didn't take their foot off the gas pedal. I'd like to go first. There's something about getting rid of your coach that puts everybody on the hot seat and makes them on their worst day, do their job, and on their best day, overperform. And I think the Falcons are going to do the same this weekend at home against the Lions. Everyone is calling for Matt Ryan to to not be quarterback, but Ryan is not. Ryan is by far not the problem the Atlanta Falcons have, and he's not going to be a problem this weekend. I got the Falcons.
Yeah, I'll definitely go with the Falcons. I don't really. I think the Falcons should have a much better record. They played a lot of really good football, and I think the Lions are definitely a team that could lose this weekend. So I'll definitely go with the Falcons.
And Justin Stack is going with the Falcons.
Uh-oh.
Nice. Yeah, we're all disagreeing too much nonsense, right? Game 3, we have the Steelers visiting the Tennessee Titans. Someone's O has to go. Rob, you go first. Who do you got? It's at Tennessee.
I'm going to have to go with the Titans on this one. I really like what Derrick Henry's doing. I think, TJ Watt's a little banged up.
What?
And, I'm going to see what it's like.
Disrespectful.
I like the Tennessee Titans, man.
I'm going with my Pittsburgh Steelers. Again, Mike Tomlin, coach 1A to Bill Belichick's 1, is the second best coach in the NFL. Without a quarterback, wide receiver, and running back last year, they finished 8-8. And look what he's doing with one player. And Chase Claypool, you warned me before the season. You warned me last week. You're going to warn me again. And I'm going to heed that warning this time. And in the spirit of heeding that warning, Rob, I'm going to go with the Pittsburgh Steelers. And Justin Stack is going to go, let's go back with the Steelers. All right, cool. Jay with the Steelers. And we move on to our next game. We have the Seattle Seahawks, that other undefeated team. Right now, I believe there's only 3 left. Seattle Seahawks visiting the Arizona Cardinals. I'll go first on this one. I think if people look back at Seattle versus Arizona and look at they play twice a year and look at Arizona's win-loss record against Seattle the last 5 years, I think they'd be surprised at the level of success that Arizona has had. And if I were going to pick an upset special, I'd probably pick this one. For those of you that are picking the over and under on the betting line, I would say this is your look but don't touch game. Look but don't touch game. Expect for fantasy, definitely go with Hopkins, and definitely expect Fitzgerald to catch one in the end zone. I don't think Seattle's going to hold him back forever. If you can't help yourself on the as far as the line and the spread, pick Seattle, and that's what I'm doing. I'm picking the Seahawks.
Yeah, I would love to pick the Cardinals. I just don't think they're quite there. And then Chandler Jones kind of just went down with an injury, so I'm probably going to go with the Seahawks.
And Justin Stack picks. Where you at, Jess? Justin Stack picks the Seahawks. All right, game number 5 of our pick 6. The San Francisco 49ers visit the New England Patriots. Rob, who do you pick?
I'll probably go with the Niners on this one just because, the Patriots didn't look great last week. I know Cam Newton's still coming back from his positive testing, but just being off of, out of the quarterback round for that week, I think maybe he might get even replaced this week, just like in the midst of the game if he's not playing well, because, that offense just needs to be able to run. So we'll see what happens, but I like more stability on the other side. So, yeah, I'm going to go against the Patriots on this one.
I'm actually going to pick the Patriots. I think the 49ers has a defense that goes after the quarterback, and the Patriots have a defense that bends but doesn't break on their worst year. But I believe if you go after the quarterback on this one, he's not Tom Brady. He's not stationary. He's going to move around a little bit. And Cam is not going to be bad forever. He missed a lot of easy throws, particularly on fourth and the game last week. That guy was open on that reverse slant. I don't think fantasy owners is definitely a stay away from Cam. Stay away from anyone who's a starting quarterback on this one. And yeah, low scoring affair. Expect some turnovers. Expect one turnover to be a score. And anyone that has the Patriots fantasy team, start with them, because I don't think the Niners are going to light up the scoreboard. I don't know what the line is, but I don't think 4 of these teams can cover whatever the line is. Low scoring affair. I go New England Patriots, and Justin Stack is gonna go Niners with you. All right. Great minds think alike. I want to be different. um, the last game we have the Bucks. Tom Brady, TB12's Bucks, visiting the Raiders. I'll go first on this one. The
Yeah.
Raiders are for real. All right. They had a little bit of a hiccup against Buffalo. They're one of those one-loss teams that if they finish 13-3 or 12-4, you wouldn't be surprised. I mean, Derek Carr has already had a 12-4 season. If you remember that season where he got hurt at the very end, they looked like they're going to do some damage in the playoffs, and he got hurt like the last game of the season. Derek Carr, great connection with his wideouts. Jacobs is definitely a start for fantasy. The Bucks, I would actually, if Gronk is still available for any fantasy owners, and now that he's actually shown he's reliable, again, to Tom Brady, I expect him and Cameron Brate to get a lot of activity. You know, Tom loves his tight ends, but at the end of the day, I think I'm gonna go with the Raiders. Ooh.
Yeah, it's a tough one.
I'm begging to lose, man.
The thing
He's like,
is,
you just
I mean,
begging
I
to
really
lose.
like what the Raiders do. I just think, they've had a lot of tough games this season, and they just won a really important one against the Kansas City Chiefs. So I think teams are maybe a little bit more prepared, a little bit more ready. So I think maybe they might falter this week. I'm gonna have to go against the Raiders.
So you're picking the Bucks?
Yeah, I got to go with Tom Brady and the crew.
Yeah, well, you know what? You're not alone, okay? I mean, there's a bandwagon fallacy going on here. Justin Stack also picks the Bucks. Just because the premise is popular, it must be right, okay? Listen,
Hey.
nobody picks fantasy better than me. Okay?
Well, you gotta
I got a
say
hand
nowadays.
going over here and a hand going over there. All right, so that concludes our NFL Pick 6. And thank you, Ryan Doherty, for playing last week. And we just keep them coming. But between all these AVP guys that everybody knows, you gotta get some of these urban legends in, like Justin Stack. And I was very, very happy that he sent me a text. And we're the only people that talk to each other during the Buffalo Bills game. I'm worse than Skip Bayless. If you see me watch a Buffalo, I lock myself in a room. And I'm screaming. I'm like, do not come in here. So I'm a little cray. All right. So, hey, it's a very short topic. We're doing basically two topics today, but our next major topic is mixed martial arts. Let's move on to that. Let's talk about the recent past first. Brian Ortega, congratulations, victory over the Korean Zombie, who we both know is not an easy out. The guy is literally, I mean, there's a reason why he's a zombie. You knock him down and he just keeps getting back
That's
up.
pretty crazy.
I don't even think he's been KO'd in his career except for that. If you remember that flurry he had with Yair Rodriguez, 10 seconds left in the fifth round, and Yair ducked and did that. That's one of those fluke things. In fact, he got caught on this one too and ate it. You know, he ate it a little bit and is like, I can't believe after I told myself I wasn't going to get caught on this. So, a one main event card. I mean, I'll just call it a one fight card because all the other fights were not very, very interesting. It looked like a lot of people were going safe, and the other people that won, we already knew it was a mismatch from the beginning. It showed. I mean, the first round usually says a lot. So, Rob, your thoughts on how Brian Ortega did this weekend? And if you saw any improvements in his game, that's one. And two, how do you see the scenario of him against Volkanovski? Because Dana said that if Ortega won, he's getting a shot against Volkanovski.
I think that Brian Ortega looked really, really good. A lot different than what he was looking like against Max Holloway. I thought he had a really, really nice, simple offense, staying with his southpaw, making sure he's getting his jab involved, making sure he goes 1-2 on top of it, making sure he kicks the outside leg kick, very simple but effective offense. And you can go defensive, you can go offensive from that. I thought it was a really, really disciplined fight, and he was aggressive even still, because that's something he obviously was just started training, because we've seen him in the last year and a half basically, and he wasn't doing that then. So yeah, so I thought wonderful improvement. I thought it was a great fight. I thought he fought really, really well. I thought, Korean Zombie looked good, but I would love to see that maybe go 5 rounds and see maybe what happens in that fight.
Yeah, that did. That was a decision, man. That was five.
Yeah,
That was 5 rounds. I mean,
that
maybe.
was 5.
Yeah, maybe.
That seemed like 3.
Look, I know. Well, it's all main events of 5 rounds, but it
Man.
went look, dude. It went really, really fast.
Yeah,
It went
that's
really, really fast. I
yeah.
blinked.
I didn't watch it live, but
Yeah.
I watched like it, replay.
Yeah.
But yeah,
Okay.
that was
Ortega.
yeah. I mean, yeah, that was a great fight either way. But yeah, going into Volkanovski fight, I don't really see that as being the next step. I think he needs at least another fight. I think that's a big leap right now, being that he got totally dismantled by Max Holloway, and Max Holloway didn't really even beat. And I'm not saying that's a comparison,
Yeah.
but what
A
you're
good thing
going to
the
need to beat
doctor stopped it,
Volkanovski,
right?
right?
I mean,
right.
that he
What
would have kept going. Sorry.
No, he would have, and the fight was over a long time before the doctor stopped it. But um, I just think as like if you're trying to create a fight, if you're trying to understand what would be the best fight, what people should see, of course, maybe they want to see Brian Ortega fight, but he's not ready for it yet, honestly. And I don't want him to derail his career. I would love to see him, step his striking level up another step or two to be able to minimize what Volkanovski would do on his feet, and then be able to take him down and do things to him on the ground, instead of, going up to a position where he loses too soon, loses his stepping, and doesn't really become that striker he could be, so where his ground game can become effective, Well, I thought whatever he did would look really, really nice. And it was a really nice, clean fight.
Before I jump in here, Rob, I have a question for you. Do you see 145 as a 2-horse race right now? Do you see this huge separation between Volkanovski, Holloway, and the rest of the division?
Yeah, absolutely.
I mean,
I think they're fighting at a totally different level,
yeah,
honestly.
it is.
And it's not even a disservice to anybody fighting in that division.
Mhm.
I just feel like, the tools that Volkanovski and Max Holloway have are just different than what the other guys have, and there has to be a total separation on skill level, which those guys do have. They're not only just skilled, they're, Volkanovski's got, these massive legs, he's got an extremely long reach, and then he's very calculated in his offense, and Max Holloway is much more of a rangy, long, and a volume fighter, which is just very difficult at that, weight class to deal with. So, I just think it's really hard to put anybody else in that class, at that weight class right now.
Yeah, look, the last time he fought, and the whole time I'm trying to pull up the dates because I knew he took a little bit of a break, close to about more than a year and a half. His last fight before this was Max Holloway, and you see this fight, and I remember Dominic Cruz and Joe Rogan. Like, Dominic Cruz is like, look, he's not a quitter. He's got the heart of a Mexican, and those guys don't quit. And then Joe Rogan's like, yeah, those Hawaiians too. He's like, so I think between these two, we just call it a wash, right? Between guys who are down for a scrap and don't quit, Hawaiians and Mexicans, that's a push. So I was looking for something that he did differently than his previous 4 matches. Max Holloway, it was hard to tell because he got so outclassed by someone who's a volume striker. And then Max chooses to load up, here and there. And he's like, if you could describe Khabib's wrestling style as a striker, where where they make you quit before you quit. Like Khabib smothers people, and you pretty much already quit before he finds something to snake you on. And Max does that with his volume striking, like he did. So he did to Aldo. Aldo quit like a whole round before he actually got finished. And
Exactly.
and that's what we thought we were going to sort of see about Ortega. And the cool thing is he didn't quit. And I love this kid. I love this guy's heart. And we see him all the time, right? He lives in Redondo. I'm singing karaoke. He rolls up on his skateboard. I buy him a drink. A week later, he remembers me. He buys me and Greg Faulkner a drink. So that's a testament to anyone who wants to know what kind of like if he looks like this nice guy and this cool-headed dude, or is that just a front? Because of California, some people could be like that. No, that's who he is for real. I met the guy 3 or 4 times. He ain't gonna remember my name, but he's really good at remembering faces, and he is larger than life for such a little guy. I gotta tell you. So, as to the question, should he fight Volkanovski? The answer, unfortunately, is yes, because when you consider his win-loss record, 15-1, and him, maybe he should do a runoff against somebody, but he's done such a magnificent.
I would love to see a Max Holloway run back.
Yeah. Ooh, I guess that would be the one. Because the whole time while you're talking, I'm like, this dude cleaned out the division. Clay Guida, coming in, knee. Hanato Makano, submission. Cub Swanson caught him in the nasty guillotine. Frankie Edgar, KO. Frankie Edgar's never been knocked out or submitted in his career. He's never been finished. So that ability to clean house coming up really makes these rematches hard, except the one you might want to see again, and that's Max Holloway. So is he deserving of the Volkanovski match? Absolutely, because he did all the right things. Should that be the match that happens next? In the beginning of this debate, I was going to say yes, but you just brought up Max, and I thought that'd be a, it's again.
Well, because Max wants that fight with Volkanovski, and
Max
done it twice already.
So,
Yeah,
he getting on the back of the line, unfortunately.
But the only way he's going to get that back is through, being that first contender.
Is to play gatekeeper.
Exactly.
Play gate.
So
and nobody
you got to play a gatekeeper. Somebody just want to fight, ready to win, ready to move up. So this is that time.
Yeah, nobody passes my gate. So now how I think he'll do against Volkanovski, I think he'll do better than I thought, because I didn't see his striking and his boxing as one of his strong things. And against Korean Zombie, that jab had some sting on it. For somewhere where I thought Zombie had a longer reach, his jab had, Ortega's jab had some pop on it. It looked like a half right cross in a jab.
But dude, you realize neither of these guys threw any type of they threw maybe 1 or 2 major head kicks, and major body kicks. Like it was all just fist fighting, not even really takedowns. It was a pretty straightforward fight, and that one-dimensional fighting. Mm-hmm. If the other fighter's allowing you to do it, you should be opening up different facets of your game. Yeah. So it just shows that I think both of those fighters are on a different level of competition right now. Maybe they need a little bit more competition, a little bit different training atmosphere for different camps. But it's just the way I saw it was. I really liked what I saw, but it was still just Max Holloway is doing something different, and Volkanovski's on a different level than all of them. So
I agree. I think his improved striking made him a more complete fighter. But if you take the term complete fighter as a collective whole and you multiply it by 1.5, we do have Volkanovski. Volkanovski is a complete fighter. I don't remember the name of their gym or their camp, but he's with Eduardo Adesanya, and those guys train like savages, and they train intelligently at the same time. So I do think Ortega has the power to take the fight to the ground. I mean, his wrestling's okay. He did score, I think, 2 of 7 takedown attempts on Korean Zombie, who's Korean Zombie. The reason why a lot of his fights are stand-up fights, because he's almost impossible to take down. I mean, you don't really see people take him down. You don't see too many people ragdoll him. I think he comes in as a heavy 165 and cuts down to 145. So yes to Volkanovski, but I think we both agree. I mean, we disagree on that, but we definitely agree on what we think the result is gonna be. I mean, look, if he can make a liar out of all of us, I'd be happy because I like Volkanovski and I think he's a classy guy. But there's something about meeting someone, face to face and seeing how he carries himself and see that he's the same real person on camera as off. Right? We cheer for those guys. So you ain't gonna hear too much bitching and crying from me if Ortega wins. All right, cool. So, hey, let's move on to this week. This week is a pay-per-view. It's UFC 254. It's the main event is Justin Gaethje challenging the interim champ, challenging the champ, or the original champ, the undefeated 28-0 Khabib Nurmagomedov. So, Rob, I'm gonna go to the board. I'm gonna click on this. Let's start main event and maybe a couple of more, and tell me who wins.
Yeah, man. I mean, I really like what Gaethje is about. I really like, what he stands for. I really love how he fights. But I think that, again, wrestling is one of the things. It's like you absolutely have to be good at when you're fighting in MMA. Honestly, I believe even if it's jiu-jitsu, you can kind of overpower it with a certain type of wrestling and being smart with what you can do.
All right, let me stop you for 1 second. Justin Gaethje, we both know, came out a Division I wrestler. The question to you is that enough? I was just trying to pick your brain here a little bit.
Is the real problem is Justin Gaethje doesn't like to fight on his back or taking somebody down and ground and pounding them when he's got them down. So whatever it is, he just likes to stay on his feet. And in essence, that is a problem because he may have great takedown defense, but even if Khabib only gets him down one round, it's going to be draining for him because he's never on the ground. And even if he's on the ground in all his trainings, he's never on the ground in a 5-round UFC championship fight.
Not any of his UFC fights, right?
I'm just saying.
Yeah, right.
But his choice, no matter what, is to get up on his feet and say, hey, you get up, we'll start swinging again. Even if he's in the advantage. He does not ground and pound. He just gets up, does his thing. And that's, even if it's more of his more recent fights, that's just his choice. And that's with a lot of people. But with Khabib, no matter what, his choice is going to be to fight on the ground. And no matter what you do, he's going to get you to the ground at least once, at least twice, and he's going to fight off his back. He's going to fight off his front. So I think it's going to be somewhat, even if it's going to be just a grind out kind of Usman, Woodley kind of, tough each other up, stay in each other's face and fight.
Definitely a lot of cage action too. A lot of press against the cage. Yeah, but not boring press against the cage. I think it's going to be interesting.
Not. So I really like. I don't know, man. Of course, the smart money will be on Khabib, but if there's if there's a line, I would take Justin Gaethje. If there's any advantage to Gaethje, being able to last all 5 rounds and it goes to a decision. I could definitely pick Gaethje, but I just don't feel like it's going to go 5. So I'll go with Khabib. But again, I really like Khabib. I really like Gaethje. I just think there's a little bit of hole. There is definitely a hole there. I feel it, and I can't not pick against that.
Yeah. When I was thinking trying to pick a winner for this fight, I thought of every worst case scenario for Khabib. Maybe he gets caught. Maybe he gets taken down. Maybe Gaethje actually does impose his wrestling to see if it matches up against the Russian Samba style. And I thought of every worst case scenario for Khabib Nurmagomedov. And the worst case scenario is I thought he won. He still wins a decision, 3-2. That's my worst case scenario. That was the worst thing I think could happen to Khabib. I think he gets caught. He can get caught, but I don't think he'll get caught multiple times like Tony Ferguson. Tony Ferguson, I have never seen Tony Ferguson get dominated in a stand-up fight like that. We've seen him get rocked and survive a round, and then the next round he comes out with a whole different adjustment and almost as a couple of different breakdance moves, and then he owns your ass. I've never seen anyone do that to Ferguson, and it certainly made Gaethje the most deserving contender for this title shot, more so than anyone in 155. And that's saying a lot because we both know 155 has some killers. 155, I mean, the highest paid athlete isn't even fighting right now in 155, and 155 didn't skip a beat, right? Conor McGregor's been gone for, he's fought one time in like 2 years, and 155 doesn't give an F because that is a dog eat dog gladiator pit style division. Barboza's
That's
nasty.
a top 10, yeah.
Ooh.
Really.
But then you got a separation because now you got Gaethje knocking out middle of the pack people. You got Gaethje knocked Starch Barboza, and then Gaethje just beat Tony Ferguson, who we both might affectionately refer to as the gatekeeper of 155 until he gets his title shot uninjured. So if he goes wrestling with Khabib, I think he's going to lose. If he strikes with Khabib, that gives him a better chance. But if he strikes and if he goes for any kind of body kick or any kind of head kick, I think that's going to be neutralized by the second or third round, because anything that he throws from the waist up is going to get caught and he's going to get taken down. And Khabib may look like he's laying on you. Khabib may only look like he's pressing you against the cage, not doing anything. But his style, I watched 3 of his fights over the weekend just for the fun of it, including McGregor, just because I like it. He is exhausting. Watch that one fight. That was round 4. He submitted rear naked choke, a neck crank. He was exhausting. Just the pressure of being on top, the pressure of putting all of his body weight against the cage, occasionally giving you some noogies. And then all of a sudden he'll load up. When he thinks you're tired, he'll load up and try to finish you. And remember, Conor survived that when he was like, let's talk. Remember, he was on top of him saying, let's talk. So I'm with you. I got to go Khabib Nurmagomedov, because I imagine so many worst case scenarios, and all of them he still wins. So but love me some Gaethje, and I want to watch that. My man's got 9 fight bonuses. He's got 9 bonuses in 7 fights. So our next fight I want to talk about, this is someone not a lot of people know, but you and me probably do. Jared Cannonier is fighting Robert Whittaker. Now, let me go first on this. Jared Cannonier was promised a title shot by Israel Adesanya if he beats Rob Whittaker. He likes his style. There's no heated rivalry. There's respect but belief that the belief that one's going to be the more dominant, but it wasn't. You know what I'm saying? It wasn't personal like Costa was. It wasn't
respectful.
Personal. Yeah, it wasn't. Even Whittaker wasn't that personal as Costa was. That was ridiculous. So here's Cannonier against Whittaker. I think Bobby Knuckles ekes this out. Cannonier fought in the heavyweight and then light heavyweight and is now at 185. But muscles need oxygen, and I'm very, very interested to see if Cannonier can do that for 3 rounds. Wait, it kind of changes my mind a little bit, Rob. It's 3 rounds instead of 5. Close one, but I'm going Bobby Knuckles decision. Who do you got? Robert Whittaker.
I could rock with Cannonier here, but yeah, I mean, Rob Whittaker at this weight, he moved already up. Here. He's
sorry.
Yeah, I mean, I just think he's a smart fighter, not quite as structured as Adesanya is, but yeah, I really like Cannonier. I think he's a really good fighter. He gets injured a bunch, a bit older now, but still, he's got some he's got some cannons. So, I'll give him the luck of the draw and see what the deal is, because I know Adesanya is a great fighter. He really is a great stand-up, very smart, intelligent fighter.
He's so good.
But Rob Whittaker is his own type of smart fighter, and I want to see if that can kind of match up with the athleticism and the experience and the power that Cannonier has. So it'd be a great fight. But yeah, I'll go Cannonier on this one.
Cool, man. Yeah. Listen, I was gonna pick Cannonier anyway, and that's again. This is a whole interesting. This is a whole interesting main card from top to bottom, but I'm not gonna go through all of them. I'm gonna skip all of them, and I'm gonna go for the first fight on the main card because this one is a match of interest to me. This Magomed Ankalaev versus Ion. Sorry, I keep messing up his name.
The
Kutalaba.
layup.
Yeah, this is a
Just a lot.
rematch. There was a their previous match. There was might have been some controversy over an early stoppage, but and I think the match probably could have gone on. But dude, all you need to know about these two is just watch the weigh-in. Watch the weigh-in the next day. I'm not gonna pick a winner on this. Even though I think Magomed has a bigger toolbox, but this dude, Ion, they nicknamed him the Hulk. He's usually the one that comes in with his face painted, or like no, his whole body painted green. Um, yeah, so that is my match of interest to watch. And my question is, they're not very popular fighters. And I know both of us are avid MMA people, but we watch a lot of everything. We watch a lot of Bellator and LFA, so we don't have a chance to watch like all of the UFC. Have you seen all of these guys fight before? I have.
Mm, I have not.
So Rob, do me
I
a
think I've
favor.
heard of the Hulk guy, but
So, so listen, you're gonna watch this fight because you're gonna watch the weigh-in. Okay, watch the weigh-in and watch how these two people won each other so freaking bad,
no,
and you're
I'm
gonna be
definitely
like, oh,
interested.
yeah, yeah. I've never seen two people that wanted each other in a bad way, dude. So like that, but that's the first fight on the main card. I believe this pay-per-view has six fights instead of five, and that's good, right? We're getting our money's worth. I mean, that's only fair, right? So that concludes MMA. You got anything else? Anything else on MMA? Anything?
No, no, no.
No.
All good.
Chael retired a few months ago. It was really cool to hear him talk. But
Already?
yeah, but if you look at Chael's lineup, look, he's not the best fighter in the world. We both know that. Nobody's gonna make an argument for the GOAT.
I like
But
him.
if you look at who this man fought, John Jones, Rampage Jackson, Tito Ortiz, Fedor Emelianenko, Wanderlei Silva, Anderson Silva, Michael Bisping, Brian Stan, Rashad Evans, the dude, Lyoto Machida. I'm like, I don't think anyone has a lineup of fighters like that except for maybe Jones. And Jones, they had to go to 205 to fight him. This dude Chael fought in three different weight classes. He had to fight heavyweight to fight Fedor. So Rob, we are going to do
Okay.
our some people's favorite segment, and some weeks it's my favorite segment. This is called To Shame or Not to Shame.
Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame. Shame.
So Rob McLean, we have one category for To Shame or Not to Shame. Romeo Crennel, who's now the interim coach of the Houston Texans, played the Titans, had a lead, scored a touchdown. Touchdown gave him a 7-point lead. And instead of kicking the extra point and giving him an 8-point lead, he goes for the 2-point conversion. Because he chooses, and because he fails at the 2-point conversion, the Titans come back and win, and eventually win in overtime. To shame or not to shame? Do you have a problem with him just gambling and going for it? To shame or not to shame, Rob? Go. You have a whole minute.
Yeah, I do have a problem with it. Definitely shame. If you're trying to, secure the win undoubtedly and not have faith in that your defense can at least not only, try to win the game without them scoring again, but also not even be able to protect for the 2-point conversion, then, I really don't think that you're seeing things straight, because 8 points should be enough to win the game. So definitely shame. And, Romeo Crennel is probably heading back to being a defensive coordinator again.
He's like, I'll leave the rest of the time for you, Jay.
Yeah, I'm good. We'll just keep that for his head coaching career.
Yeah, too bad for Romeo Crennel, but I'm with you, Rob. I got to go shame, 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 shame a fool. if you have a touchdown that puts you up by 7 and the extra point puts you up by 8, do the extra point. You know why? Because as good as the other team's offense may be, or as much momentum as that other team's offense may have, you may not be able to defend a series, but you are able to defend one play. So let's say you we scored a touchdown and we go for the extra point and now we're up by 8. He might have momentum, the quarterback, the running game, the offensive coordinator. They might have a great series. But even if they score, it still comes down to one play. And you could have a great series and miss the one play. And that's why coaches don't call this a safe bet. They call it football intelligence. That's just ridiculous. Shame. Shame, shame, shame. Shame and fool.
And just to piggyback on top of it too, the way you feel, like the way the team is gonna feel when they're like, oh, they didn't, 7 points. All we got to do is score 7 points and we can tie the game. It's a lot different mentality than, oh man, like they got 8 points. We got to go all the way down the field and we got to score this football. So it's a lot of, it's a mind game as well. That,
it would have been more pressure if they were down by 8, right? Because they knew they have to score twice. But if they don't have to score 7, then all of a sudden they think, wait, this team's scared of us. I smell fear. I mean, that's not what I really wanted to say. I mean, I have a house party flashback. You smell that? You smell that? You old school. I know you saw a house party. Smell. All right, that concludes gracefully our one question of shame or not to shame. We're going light here this week because we wanted to talk a little bit about football, but for everybody next week, we definitely have a whole lot to talk about, particularly this main event in the UFC, which neither one of us can wait. No quick question, no film of the week. We are actually wrapping up on time on our 50-minute mark. But I do have a big up shout out to the Jaguars, John Brown, who's never kicked a field goal in his soccer or football life. He was a place kicker, and he kicked his first NFL field goal. No, first ever competitive field goal. In or outside of football, and he brought it through, and good for him, because the Jaguars right now, they're not winning a bunch of games, but they're fun to watch because Minshew and those guys are a bunch of fighters. So good team, good good team, good chemistry, and he's a fit for them, and I hope Marone and those guys do well. Also, congratulations to Brendan Clemens, Duncan. This is volleyball. This is AVP, FIVB. Or American Beach Volleyball. Congratulations to Brandon Clemens, Duncan Buttinger, Dylan Marek, and Jace Pardon for winning the Hermosa Beach Charity Forest Tournament. All the proceeds go to educating deaf children. And they raised last time I heard, they raised more than $1,000, and I think that's pretty cool for volleyball. I bought a T-shirt myself, and I'm expected to do some color commentary for them in the near distant future. Just future opportunities for me. Any shout out? Anything you want to plug at the end? Oh, you're gonna do this Russell Simmons.
I got to shout out Timofey Lopez for beating Lomachenko.
Yes.
Pretty sure I missed that fight this weekend, so got a shout out right there.
Yeah.
USA all the way.
Did you see that coming?
I mean, not really, but I'm not. The way Lomachenko fights is not tailored for 12 rounds, right? He's tailored to fight, 15 round, 20 round fights, because, he's just got to, tailor his fighting style to the 12 rounds that are available. That's what I got to say about that. But yeah, he looked fantastic. It's just, it didn't get going until late enough. And, he's got to know how to win rounds instead of trying to outclass people. That's a big thing to understand when you're doing that pound for pound fight.
Especially in boxing.
Everybody's great up there, and the nuances really matter so much. So big shout out to Timofey Lopez for holding his ground and not being overwhelmed by what Lomachenko was doing. So, but, I can't wait to see who Lomachenko fights next to, bring back some of that name, and so big shout out to Timofey Lopez.
Cool, man. That's our shout out, and that concludes our podcast today. Stay tuned for anyone interested in watching the Option podcast. I have Kevin Knight, upstart, new future star. Kevin Knight played at Myrtle Beach, finished second, lost to Adam Roberts and Trevor Crabb. So it was a good coming out party for him. Got him on the podcast tomorrow. And this Thursday, I have actress and activist Tessa Greenberg. You're going to love her. All right. Ryan Millar. We're trying to set up something next week, Olympic gold medalist. And I actually wanted to talk to him about Greece, and some other stuff. And also a former BYU star. So my volleyball people, I'm still with you. But, the option, in the classic sense of the word, I definitely want to have other interesting people as we continue our venture to closing the gap to 100 episodes hopefully by January. But for this week, Rob might love you, but I had it with all of you, okay? For all of you at home, for all of you on your iPad at Starbucks, for all of you on the lunch line listening to this on your iPhone, for all of you on your Droid, for all of you on your desktop who runs the world, old school. For Rob, keep him McLean. This is episode 38 of Sports Debate Tuesday, and I'm Jason DeBeas, and we say, we're out. Come check out the Option Podcast on OptionVB.com. It's also available on iTunes and Spotify and on YouTube under the NY Varsity Sports handle. You're going to love what you hear.